Welcome back for another book review. I promise one day I will be back on camera, but things happened. I have emergencies to contend with, and so I don't have time to contend with lighting and getting all prettied up. I can just set my phone down and record for a minute. So here we are with today's book review. This is Wiccan Feasts, Celebrations, and Rituals, and I really don't know how to say this author's name. It's like Silja? Something? I don't know, but yeah, that author. The brief description of this book is that it's a collection of rituals that goes through the wheel of the year, as well as like some more random pagan observances throughout the months, and then just general life events. While it has information, it does also include a lot of rituals, crafts, spells, and just a whole lot more. I would rate this book on a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 out of 5. While it's not perfect, I absolutely loved this book. I was left super inspired from the rituals. The formatting and art within this book, I think is lovely. I don't feel like it's too much. Some people in other reviews didn't like it. They felt like it was too childish. Personally, I kind of like occasionally having books that are more colorful, that have a lot more like of the artistic things included in a book instead of just text. We need a mix within the community. Some books do really well with a lot of those. Sometimes you can tell that it is just padding for the book. It didn't feel like that to me. It felt like it enhanced it rather than taking away. And this book just gave me so many ideas. There were things that were brought up that are usually not mentioned in books that I was really impressed that the author bothered to research to some degree. Some of it I am really questioning, but I'm so glad that it's there. We'll get to that in the other notes section for this video. But basically, I really loved this book. If you cannot tell, would I buy this book? Absolutely. I don't know when I will buy this book, but it is definitely one that I do plan to get at some point. Now we are going to move on to the other notes. So these are really mostly kind of negative, but the good parts were just like, wow, this is really cool. This is really great. I loved this. And then these sections really messed up the mojo of what was going on. And it's like, but why is that here? Again, for the most part, I really enjoyed this book. There was just a couple things that I was like, no, for different reasons, but no. So let's jump into those. The first one comes from page 42, and it's a long section, so I'm just going to kind of summarize it. But basically, it's in the Wheel of the Year section. We're talking about the summer solstice. And she, thankfully, throughout this book, includes not just the traditional like deities we come across. It's not just Wicca. It's not even just like Celtic or Greek. We have a decent selection with the Norse. I was very impressed. However, the section left me scratching the noggin because I don't claim that I am an expert on all things Norse. I don't know that I ever would be. However, there are some things that I remember reading going, damn, and that I tried to analyze on my own to see how I would fit it into celebrations that we do nowadays with the Wiccan tradition of, the Wheel of the Year. This isn't it. So we're talking about summer solstice, and the myth that the author has chosen is Balder. Now, if you don't know Balder's myth, he is the god of light. His brother is the god of darkness. He's blind. The brother is blind. So the blind brother, through the trickery that is Loki, because that's his job, creates chaos, and has the blind brother accidentally kill his light brother Balder. And so Balder dies. He goes down to Hell's realm. And of course, everyone's upset. Balder is the god of light. He's happiness, he's joy, he's wonderful. We love Balder. He's now dead. Let's fix this. Hell is not to be fucked with. You do not get to just be a special treatment because you happen to be a deity. She don't care. And so she's like, fine. If you want him back so badly, you have to have everything in creation, like cry for him or weep for him or something. And somehow or another, Loki makes it so it doesn't happen. And it's a long story, but basically one thing did not work. And so Balder is left in Hell's realm, and in the myths, she is only going to open the gates to her realm and let the dead out during Ragnarok. Balder included. He's stuck down there just like everybody else. And it's only during Ragnarok that he is released. And even then, it's not like a big part in the myth. Like, the bigger part of the myth is the ending of the other gods, but because the gates to hell have opened, that he is now able to go back out. And there are a handful of deities that remain after Ragnarok, and they rebuild the world after Ragnarok takes place. That's the story. Now, very simplified, very poorly explained. It's early in the morning, and I've got a lot of stress on the mind. But the book says that soon after he died, though, Balder eventually returned from the dead because of the strength of his wife's and his mother's love revived him. That didn't happen. That's not part of the myth at all in the slightest. And it also feels really weird to be celebrating the return of the sun. You know, Baldur's coming back and whatever at the summer solstice. I could, I guess, kind of see the killing of him-ish, but not really. Because, like, it's the pinnacle of summer. I have a hard time being like, but, like, the death of the light. Kind of like how it's hard to really embrace, like, but the sun's returning right now because, like, it's cold, it's snowy, it's a problem of my life right now. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I appreciate that she is trying to incorporate some Norse things, because, again, we don't really have that. And the stuff we do have does definitely have more of the Reconstructionist vibe. I appreciate relooking at myths in new ways. I feel like we gotta stick a little bit to the original, like just a smidge. The basic events I feel like still have to happen. If you want to change some of the narrative around that, but the event still happens, sort of like, again, this is my like go-to, which is Persephone, where she was once viewed as the victim, and now we view it as her choice to do these things. But this is not that. It's a little different. Because if it was just his wife and his mom, let alone all of the other deities, really all of the realms were like really bummed when Balder died, that wasn't enough. Their love wasn't enough. And I feel like that myth's purpose to humanity is that death still happens. That even though you have all of this power, you still have no power over death. That is the reigning supreme regardless. And, like, trying to, like, dismiss it, to be like, but then his wife and his mom, like, loved him so much that he was able to come back was just like, but no. And also the fact that he isn't able to come back is a big part of that myth. So that part just kind of bugged me because it's like, just no. Moving along, we have page 73, which is, it's very important for the couple to write down their own vows, and when I perform weddings, it is the only bit that I absolutely refuse to help with. Obviously, in this section, we're talking about hand fastings, but this just rubbed me the wrong way, because, like, absolutely refusing to help with writing vows feels a little bit, like, pretentious, I guess is the word. I'm not sure exactly what word is the one to describe how I feel. That feels like the closest word, but it's like, it just comes across as, like, this better than thou, like, I can help you with everything but that. That's a you problem. And just comes off, like, very harsh and, like, just rude. Like, I can see not completely writing it for the couple, but it's really hard to write vows. Like, not everyone is good at writing. Like, my husband, not great at ritual writing and writing in general. That's just not his thing. And for me, it's not much of an issue, but even I struggled to figure out our wedding vows. Like, it is hard, because unless it's something you're around all the time, you're only going to experience it maybe once or twice in your entire lifetime. It's hard to write that down. And especially as a witch, ours are different. And there's not a whole lot of resources out there. Again, we got married in 22. There wasn't that much out there. They were all kind of the same-ish. And they're all very, like, Wiccan and very much into, like, a very specific type of, like, ritual. And it's really hard. And our officiant isn't a witch. He's an atheist. But he's done all kinds of different weddings and things. And, is a pretty chill and cultured dude. Like, he travels all over the place all the time. And so, like, he had examples for us to look over, see if we wanted to kind of Frankenstein something together and, figure it out. And we opted not to do very personal vows because I just felt like it wasn't necessary to do that kind of a thing in front of people. Some people do. We had our, portion that was in front of our family and friends. And then we had a separate ritual that was just me and him. And that's when I would do, the very personal vows. But, just to say that you're, absolutely going to not help a couple at all for that just feels very, condescending. I don't know what the word is that I'm feeling. But it just comes across as, I don't know. It really bothers me. It really bothered me, that specific verbiage. Because I can appreciate wanting the couple to write their own thing. I personally think it's ridiculous. I think you should be helping them. Give them ideas. Guide them through it. Not everyone is a writer. I don't know. It bothered me. Then we have got page 88. Make sure you have an outline of your preferred burial, ritual, decorations, and music, as well as a will, if applicable. And again, if you couldn't guess by the context of what we're talking about, it's for death. And I know that I'm a wee bit biased because I wrote a whole book on the topic. But it always amazes me how much is just freaking left out of the conversation about death in witchcraft books. Because we only talk about maybe 2% of the whole process. And that's it. That's why I wrote the book that I did, because we just don't talk about it. But setting all of that part of it aside, no. Sure, outline your preferred burial, which is not probably the greatest verbiage because you can be cremated, aquamated, terramation, depending on where you live. Are you doing a green burial, a traditional burial? There's a lot. Again, it is my hill to die on, apparently, because I did a lot of research for that book. Thank you. Sure, ritual, decorations, that's gonna kind of fall on the people around you, unless you have a box that's labeled funeral stuff that's easy for them to find. And music, sure, I guess, whatever. But the whole thing that really stuck out to me was, as well as a will, if applicable, you should always have a will. You should have something. If you are an adult, you need to have a will. I am guilty of not doing this. But I have life insurance policies with people listed, and I just have to get the money to get a lawyer to get something set up. I know it's expensive, but there's really not a if applicable ever. Unless it is a minor, which does suck a lot. A minor typically is not going to have a will. If you are an adult, if you have got assets, if you have a car, a house, a spouse, if you have kids, if you have pets, whatever, you've got assets of any kind, you need to have a will. You need to have something written down, and there are ways to go around this. You can go to a bank, get a notary to explain just briefly what you want done. It's probably not as ironclad as a full will, but also you probably should look into getting a power of attorney set up, a trust potentially. There's stuff you just need to do, but to say that if a will is applicable is no. It's always applicable. Always, just always. Whether you can afford it is a different story, because it is expensive. Lawyers are hella expensive. But it is always applicable. It makes life so much easier for the people you would leave behind. So anyways, random little soapbox, because again, the death sections are so small, and I'm dude, I wrote a huge book. Well, not a huge, but a decent-sized book just on the topic, and you summarized my entire book into 3 pages. So I know that they just briefly cover it. I feel like we should be having bigger discussions in the community about it. But again, I did my contribution. I wrote a book on it. This isn't to be oh my God, go buy my book. It's just a statement of we just don't talk about all of the intricate details that happens with death. And if you're going to this book trying to get help on that specific topic, it's really not there. It's just basically for the funeral, which is just a small fraction of handling death. There is a lot of the mundane stuff you got to deal with, let alone witching and grieving. There's a whole lot involved there. But anyways, enough of my soapbox. This last one is on page 92, and it is talking about the festival of Thorablot. To me, it should be Thorsblot, but sure. So this is on January 14th, and it is a ritual that you're supposed to do to honor, what is it? We'll actually just read it from the book. You can probably hear it in the background. I just have the book open over here. So this Icelandic Norse festival is a late midwinter celebration to honor Thor, the god of thunder, and ask him to use his powers to part the skies and let the sun through melting snow so families can celebrate together and bless believers with knowledge and intuition. And I don't completely know if that's true, because typically, from what I have heard, the general regions in which the Norse come from and kind of their surrounding areas are definitely not going to start having any signs of warmth in January. It's going to be a while till the snow starts to melt, and then you get a little bit of like not ice and snow, because that's just the region of the world. But that is to say, like, that's going to be more of like an England thing, because you're getting close to Imbolc, where it's like, oh my god, look, we have the snowdrop flowers, and it's like, for us who live in snow climates, it's like, oh, that's so cute. Yeah, we're still gonna have like 3 feet of snow, but good for you. It kind of reminded me of that a bit, but the idea of this is something I actually really liked. So the premise is that you call upon Thor on this day to break through whatever challenge that you're dealing with. And so the ritual is that you use a lightning bolt, which isn't his symbol, but okay, that's more of a Zeus thing. He, lightning bolts is kind of his symbol. Thor has his hammer, but okay. But you're supposed to use a lightning bolt that you cut out of paper for like a yellow color for lightning. And then you're supposed to like place it on or around like an object that you're struggling with. So like your resume, your textbook if you can't concentrate for your exams, photo of a plane if you and your loved one are like, far apart, whatever. But you place the object and the thunderbolt on your altar or like a windowsill or whatever where it won't be disturbed. Add symbols for balance, and then you're supposed to visualize the thunderbolt blasting away obstacles to your goal and happiness, and visualize yourself happy and getting your goal you wanted. And then you repeat this ritual as often as you like, and like until your goal is achieved or something changes. And I'm like, that's a great concept, but I want to change it a little bit. So like, I think instead of lightning bolts, because yes, he's the god of thunder, but like lightning bolts aren't usually like the symbol for him. It's usually going to be, his hammer. That's his tool of choice. That's what causes the thunder, is him traipsing around with his big old hammer. So to me, it would be more appropriate to place a Thor's hammer with objects associated with breaking through obstacles, and then to repeat it on his day of the week, which is Thor's Day, Thursday, which ironically is the day I'm recording this. I think I'm actually recording it the same day you're seeing it. But like the premise, the idea of this ritual is great. I love the idea. Again, I would change some things. I don't think the lightning bolt, I think repeat on a specific day, things like that. But overall, like it has potential. And then we come to my very final points, which again are things that just personally bother me. And the first is that once again, we do not have a conclusion at all. And the resources, I don't know if she got her information from here or if it's just her recommended. I'm really not sure. It sounds more like when you read through it that it's just her recommended places to go to. And like that kind of bothers me. I like to know where you're getting your information from when you're doing research for a book. And again, the lack of a conclusion really bothers me too, because you're just left kind of on a cliffhanger of like, oh, okay, I guess we're done now. Okay, bye. Just the random little things like that just kind of add up for me. Like I said, even though a lot of the other notes was kind of negative, really the majority of this book I did enjoy. I thought it was really fun. I liked the colors and the very artistic vibe of this book. I think most of the rituals and the information is pretty good. These were just the couple things that really stood out, but it really did leave me like kind of inspired, and I was like, cool, like it is a book I would be happy to go through again. So I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Huge thank you, as always, to my patrons. If you want to support me and get access to a bunch of content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Of course, here on the channel, I am trying to post every single day, so hopefully I can maintain that all year. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, all that good stuff, making sure you're subscribed, all the usual stuff every channel tells you to do. And until next time, thank you for watching, and blessed be.